For the first story, am I the a-hole for being completely honest to my biological parents about how my childhood was really awful? I was given up for adoption right after I was born. Unfortunately, my adoption didn't work out, and I grew up in foster care until I turned 18. I'm now 19 and in college. In February, I got a Facebook message from a man claiming to be my father. We messaged back and forth, and while I kept a lot of my childhood details private, we did make plans to meet him and my mother. They weren't married to each other, by the way. When I got to the restaurant, I was very shocked and honestly upset to find my father and mother had brought their spouses, as well as their children, to surprise me. My father's mother, so my grandmother, was also there. I was already feeling very emotional about the whole thing, and seeing everyone there didn't help. So, I sat through an hour of listening to them sharing all about their lives, while I faked smile through everything. Honestly, I feel very jealous that they had kids they really loved, and how they all had really happy lives after ditching me. Then they started asking about me and my parents, and how my Facebook gave very little away about my life. I basically lost it, and started crying like a little bee, lol, and told them how crappy my adoptive parents were, and how crappy foster life was. I was pretty snarky and sarcastic when I said that I'm glad their lives worked out for them, because mine sure as hell didn't. I couldn't stop crying, and my father had to drop me back home. He was very apologetic. I feel very crappy about it. I made my mother and father cry at the restaurant. They were really nice people. I got a few messages from my mother and father separately where they've been apologizing and if they could make it up to me. My mother in particular seems really upset by everything, and I hate that I may have messed up her happy life. Her last message basically said that she's been unable to sleep and wants to see me again. I've been ignoring their messages and just been focusing on school instead. Am I the a-hole? Maybe I should have been more honest before the meetup. Now for the top comments. No a-holes here. You have a right to your life. And they have probably spent the last 19 years clinging to the idea that you had a better life than they could give you, being hit by the reality that their happiness now is built on the opportunities they had by condemning you to misery has probably hurt them quite a bit, but that's not your fault. Yeah, but they're pretty close to being the a-hole for bringing everyone with them to what should have been a personal meeting. They messed up, sure. Doesn't seem like they were being intentionally malicious though. Stupid and hurtful, but I wouldn't judge them a-holes for it. No a-holes here, but it was a bad call. Not the a-hole. Bringing their families with them must have felt like a kick on the teeth, because it was a glimpse of something you never had. It was too much too soon. I can completely understand why this was overwhelming. Yes, that's just cruel, even if Opie was raised in a happy household, not the a-hole. The bio parents sounded like they thought Opie had a good life with adoptive parents and wanted to link the families. To their horror, that wasn't the case. They are still a-holes though, not the a-hole. Hey, I hope you're alright. This sounds massively complex and as if there is a lot of trauma. I don't think this is a case for this sub. Please reach out to a friend. Maybe your university campus has a psychologist you could speak to. Wishing you all the best, an internet stranger. Thanks. I've just been very busy with school, and it's kept my mind off this situation. I'll get therapy once I graduate and have health insurance. Lol. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not meeting my bio family and responding to the message they sent me with a simple no thanks? I am not sure how to start a post off, but I'll try to give a bit of background information, I guess. Oh, and in any case it is important, I am 25 male, and the parents are probably in their late 40s to early 50s. Long story short, I was put up for adoption by these people, got adopted, got placed out of my adoptive parents' house when I was 9, and spent the remainder of my youth in and out of foster homes and placements. Fortunately, I never had that much of a problem. I quickly got used to it, and when I was 18, I managed to get myself into college and it all worked out for me. I got a good job now, a lovely girlfriend, a ton of friends who I consider family, and I am happy to be honest. I ended up receiving a very long message from a woman in one of my social media accounts, and it boiled down to a load of excuses as to why they gave me up, primarily centering around their age, early 20s, conservative upbringing, they weren't married, and their parents forcing them. They then started telling me about themselves and what they referred to as my siblings. They finally finished that off with stating their desire to meet me and that they wanted me to be a part of their family. Now, I don't hold much against these people. I know it may seem like that, but I don't. It's a case of not caring, if anything. I have never longed to meet them, search them out, or anything of that sort. I just never had a desire to know them. It wouldn't change anything anyway. I ended up responding with a simple no thanks, and followed that up by telling them not to contact me anymore. I figured that would be the end of it, but I couldn't be more wrong. The following days, I started receiving messages from these siblings uttering their desire to meet me. When I told them the same, that turned into accusations of making their parents cry. I ended up blocking them all, which resulted in messages from their friends and new accounts, so I eventually just stopped using the account. It is obvious these people want to meet me and are hurt by my refusal, so am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's your life and your decision. They give up all rights to you 25 years ago, and they don't automatically get a pass when they start feeling bad about it. It's your choice. That's the thing. I just don't care to meet them. They've showed you how right you are not to meet them by harassing you. If this keeps up, report them to the police and get a restraining order. You owe these people nothing. Best of luck in everything. Not the a-hole. Their attempted manipulation and intimidation to get you to meet them is a huge red flag. You're doing fine and are happy. I say no need to involve a bunch of family. Well, to be honest, I wasn't going to meet them, manipulation or not. I just wonder, what do they need for you? I mean, come on, it's not just a pure love for your blue eyes. Seeing how the whole pack is engaged and hyped, a lot of people putting too much effort. My bet is an organ donation or something material. I mean, I do have pretty sexy blue eyes though, so who knows? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for laughing in my stepsister's face when she showed up at my place and asking to stay for a while? This happened 3 weeks ago. I, 21 female, was home in my apartment that I share with my 2 closest friends when my stepsister, 19 female, showed up and asked if she could stay with us for a while. I laughed and told her no and closed the door. She ended up going to my dad and her mom's house where she told them everything, and they are pissed. They said it was reckless and cruel to turn her away without seeing that she was okay, and my dad said he was disappointed in me. I told him I did not want her anywhere she could steal or break something that didn't belong to her. He told me she hasn't done that in years, and I have no right to hold childhood mistakes against her. The last time she broke something that was mine was 2 years ago, when I went to stay for Christmas and she went into my room while I was taking a shower and took my phone, then broke said phone. I pointed this out to him, and he told me I can't stay mad at my sister. I told him I'm not mad at my sister because I don't have one, which he did not take great. Then my stepsister started bugging me with how mean it was that I laughed at her, and how she's changed. I asked if she changed enough to want to apologize for the crap she did, and maybe even pay me back. She said no, and she doesn't need to. I told her then she hasn't really changed. She tried to get me to believe her by her just saying it. All 3 are currently muted by me, so I don't have to take their crap. Am I the a-hole? Adding more details which I didn't make clear enough. She has constantly stolen and broken things that were mine. She was a child when it started, which you could dismiss. You could say that being 17 when the phone thing happened, she was still a child, valid. But when it is a long pattern of the same behavior, of taking other people's stuff without permission, and then either through carelessness or force break stuff, it makes me not trust her or want her in my place, where I live with others and rent, when her damage would cost me a lot more. She has never apologized or made any effort to make amends for it, so I have no reason to take her word for it. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Trust is hard to earn, yet so easy to break. You could have handled it a bit better instead of just laughing in her face, but I agree with not letting her stay. She only says she's changed, but you haven't seen real evidence of it. Also, how do you break a phone that fast? Did she pick it up and started throwing it at walls? Was it a flip phone that she tried to close backwards? Did she try to use it to scrape ice off her windshield? Like, I'm extremely accident prone and drop things constantly. The only times I've broken a phone are dropped one into a mug of tea by accident, dropped one repeatedly over several years while it was in a case, dropped it face down onto gravel. How do you just wander into somebody's room and just break a phone? I'm genuinely confused about the logistics here. Edit. My point is that it's extremely unlikely to me that this was an accident because again, how? Not the a-hole. You owe her nothing. She's not your dependent and you hold no responsibility to her. Why weren't her parents her first call? I would form a hard boundary. Tell your dad that you will not discuss her anymore. If he tries to bring her up, you will end the conversation. He forced her into your life and now is an adult. You have made the decision to cut her out. I'm taking a bet mommy and daddy got tired of her crap and told her to find some place to get lost for a few days, or she had a tantrum and ran away. She then decided to crash at Opie's place. Opie's parents wanted a few days of peace, which is why they're pushing back about the brat being back home. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole? Taking in niece and sharing awful texts. My niece is a college senior with a 3.5 GPA with a double major. She is a beautiful young woman that makes the room brighter when she walks in. She has a great wit and even better laugh. For 6 months, my sister-in-law cut down our 20-year-old niece on a daily basis over everything. They didn't like her boyfriend. They didn't like her coming home late. They didn't want her having guests over in their shared home when the parents were gone. During this time, they would routinely make cutting comments comparing her to an aunt that died of a drug overdose, threatened to call the cops over her coming home late from curfew, called her a W on a routine basis, and just blasted her for everything that they didn't believe in their my way is the only way ways. When we noticed our niece was getting really bad with this mental abuse, we decided enough was enough and time to stay with us for a while. Our niece immediately began to flourish, but our relationship with my wife's sister and her husband plummeted. They wanted us to instill rules we wouldn't do, and wanted us to make it hard on our niece so she would go back home. Instead, we gave her a loving and nurturing home with a family that does things together, shows affection, and helps each other out on individual problems. I went from having 3 children to 4, as there is always room for one more at the table. My niece began to flourish, and that is all we cared about. A few weeks later, during our family vacation with our niece in tow, my sister-in-law blew up our phones for 6 straight hours. My wife was getting very upset, and out of frustration, I showed a text to my niece which contained absolutely terrible things said about her by her own mother. I felt it was both BS our family vacation was getting wrecked, and I felt she had a right to see what her mother was saying about her. Our relationship continued to deteriorate with my sister-in-law. We continuously encouraged our niece to repair the relationship, and after a few months, while still living with us, our niece began seeing her parents for meals. It was during this time my niece was told that my daughter was an ass by my niece's grandfather and that my niece should get out of my house. Because of this, we cut off our 17-year-old daughter from seeing them until they apologized, which they have refused to do. During this refusal, I admitted, actually proudly, about sharing the text because there is only so much a man can take, and after learning they called my daughter an ass, they needed something in return. Now they are saying I am the a-hole. What do you think? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law's acts can only be described as utterly abusive and inconsiderate. That being said, I would be careful about sharing your niece the text because it can make her mental health worse. She may have a right to know what is being said, but it may do more harm, possibly for years, in the long run. Thank you for taking the time to weigh in. This has been a very tough situation for all of us. My niece is thriving now, so I know we did right by her. See, that's where I'm having a hard time deciding if this is not the a-hole or everyone sucks here. I think it's great that you're there for your niece and trying to help her through all this. But why, when you were trying to get her away from the emotional abuse, would you show her those text messages? And don't say because you felt she deserved to see what they were saying about her because that's BS. She had to listen to that while she lived with them. I'm sure she realized that they were being a-holes. I showed the texts to my niece which contained absolutely terrible things said about her by her own mother. We continuously encouraged our niece to repair the relationship. Stop doing that. They're abusive towards her. She doesn't need to know about them. You should go no contact. Not the a-hole. Thank you. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.
Update. Am I the a-hole for denying my in-laws' only request at our wedding, therefore ruining our relationship? Original post. I need some advice on this situation from an unbiased source. I, 23 female, and my fiancé, 27 male, are getting married in December. We got engaged in April and I pretty much did all the planning myself with the help of my mom in the first few weeks. From the very beginning, my fiancé and I had a plan laid out for the bridal party. That was one of the first things decided, even before I had the ring on my finger. This included flower girls and ring bearers. We decided that the flower girl would be my sister's baby. Same sister is also my matron of honor, who would be pushed in a stroller down the aisle by my 10 female cousin, who would be considered a junior bridesmaid. For the ring bearers, my fiancé really wanted to include his best friend's son. For context, his friend has not had custody of his child for most of his life. Long story, and it could be a little difficult to arrange his attendance. He will be around a year and a half at the time of the wedding. As a result, we decided that we would also have my 2 cousins, 5 male and 7 male, the brothers of the junior bridesmaid, be ring bearers as well. This way, there's no pressure on the friend, and everything will go smoothly whether his child can come or not. The older boys will help the younger boy walk down the aisle, holding his hands. We decided on these specific children because they are closely related and close to us, and are the right age. Shortly after the engagement, I asked my sister and my cousin, the moms of the children, if their kids could be in the wedding, and gave details of what they should wear, etc. The kids and parents were both so excited. Everything was going according to plan until a few weeks ago when my mother-in-law asked us if we would consider adding another flower girl. For context, my fiancé's brother, 24 male, who is also his best man, lives across the country from us and recently told us, about 4 months ago, that he has a new girlfriend, 21 female. This girlfriend has a child from a previous relationship, a 10-month-old daughter. They have now known each other for about 7 or 8 months. He is very serious about her, and we are very happy for them. He has taken a sort of father role in her daughter's life, which is adorable. He is expressing interest in marrying her in the future, but they are taking it slow. My fiancé and I have never met this girlfriend or her child, but we are thrilled for his brother, so we of course invited them both to the wedding. Now this is where things get a little messy. I have always gotten along great with my fiancé's family. They have always been so sweet, kind, accepting, and well-meaning. They welcome newcomers with open arms, including me, and have really become my family. I especially had a great relationship with my mother-in-law. She is the sweetest lady and would do anything for me and any one of her children. She lives very close to us, and my family lives far away. She was always the first to say that it's our wedding, meaning mine and my fiancé's, to encourage me to make my own decisions in wedding planning and not let my mother sway them. She has become like a mother to me in so many ways. With that being said, they are also very loving and accepting of my fiancé's brother's girlfriend and her baby from afar, which is great. I'm so glad they are so supportive. They even started calling her baby their first grandchild and flew across the country to meet them. With this context in mind, a couple of weeks ago, when my mother-in-law and I were hanging out, just the 2 of us, she asked me if I would consider adding the girlfriend's baby as a flower girl. She said my fiancé's brother keeps bringing it up and that it would be really cute. I politely told her that we already had a flower girl, my niece, and a junior bridesmaid assigned to push her in a carriage. She responded by saying, essentially, "What's one more? She will probably be able to walk by herself down the aisle by then, 14 to 15 months. I kind of just said I would think about it with my fiancé and changed the subject. Later on, I told my fiancé about it, and we both agreed that it wasn't a good idea because 1. We already had the role filled and it would be awkward to have a baby randomly walking next to the stroller with the other baby. 2. If she needed help walking, it wouldn't be easy for the 10-year-old to juggle 2 kids down an aisle. 3. We have never met her, and she might not be comfortable walking down the aisle of a wedding where she knows nobody. And 4. They aren't married. And worst case scenario, if they break up, she's in all the pictures. I know that sounds harsh, but I come from a family where, traditionally, if you're not engaged, you don't get a +1 no matter who you are. I am not following this rule and everyone's significant other is invited, but that doesn't mean they get to be in the wedding. My fiancé and I were on the same page about this. We agreed to keep the bridal party the way it was. He talked to his brother and essentially told him it was a no, and everything was fine and everyone was on the same page until the other night. We were at my mother-in-law's house again, but this time my fiancé was there too. Once again, mother-in-law brings up the flower girl thing, and my fiancé tells her that we already have the position filled and that's that. But then my mother-in-law tells my fiancé how much it must mean to his brother since he keeps bringing it up. This brings out the empath in my fiancé, and he starts to have an open mind about it. Meanwhile, I'm still against it. I start to explain why, using the reasons I mentioned above. My mother-in-law points out that all of the children in the wedding are from my side except one, and that their side doesn't have any representation, even though that's because there are no children on his side. She also points out that there are 3 little boys in the wedding, so why can't there be 3 little girls? At this point, she has convinced my fiancé, and I'm an island defending my position alone. She wasn't being rude or anything, but every reason I had, she seemed to have a rebuttal. She was saying things like, they will get married one day anyway, and she's already part of the family. Eventually, I start saying, we will think about it. And she responds, so that sounds like a no. To which I reply, we will consider it. It got awkward, and I was about to cry, so I changed the subject. The whole time, I felt like I looked like a major a-hole. It was really bad. Later that night, my fiancé apologized to me for being open to the idea in front of his mother when we had already decided against it. He had believed his mother would have an open conversation with us and not try to push her away. I, however, figured it would go exactly how it did. He called his brother that night and told him it was a definite no and that we had already asked other people. His brother was sad but understood. I felt bad and guilty for making my fiancé feel bad. In hindsight, I really shouldn't have because of what followed. This is where my previous post left off. A lot has happened in the last few days. I was worried immediately after that conversation that his mother would tell his brother that my fiancé was for it and I was against it. My fiancé said he knew his mother well and that she wouldn't do that. The next morning, his brother called him wanting to talk. The first words out of his mouth were, after our conversation last night, I talked to Mom, and she said that you wanted her to be the flower girl and your fiancé, me, didn't. Just as I thought would happen. He went on to say, as your brother, I want to make sure that you get what you want since it's your wedding. I was pissed. My fiancé told him that we had already agreed not to have her as the flower girl, and that he shouldn't have seemed so open to it the night before. We spent the whole day discussing it. I felt like an a-hole and was tempted to cave to keep the peace, but the only reason my fiancé was reconsidering was because it meant a lot to his brother. The conclusion we came to was that it's not his brother's wedding. So we called him up a few hours later and told him no, for the 3rd time. He was upset, but at least it was over, or so we thought. He texted my fiancé again the next morning, expressing how hurt he was. At that point, we were like, the decision is made. It's our wedding. Please get over it. Then my fiancé's brother enlisted their mother. She called my fiancé and basically attacked him for almost an hour on the phone. My fiancé did a great job standing up for us and sticking to his guns. His mom went as far as to say that my relationship with his whole family will forever be affected by this decision. That one hurt. She also said that my fiancé's relationship with his brother will forever be altered. At this point, this was all going way too far. We ended up talking to my fiancé's sister and found out that his brother no longer wants to be best man anymore, and that neither of them wants to speak to us for a while. They said that this won't be resolved until we give in. I'm at a loss for words. This doesn't even feel like a real situation, to be honest. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. We are definitely not going to give in. At this point, giving in would only show them that if they push hard enough, they can manipulate us. It just really hurts because we had such a great relationship before this. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Your mother-in-law and brother-in-law are being crazy, but your fiancé really messed this one up by waffling about it in front of his mother and making you look like a bridezilla. None of this would have been an issue if he hadn't done that. All of this for an 8-month relationship for a child that isn't even his brother's? I'm usually not a big Reddit conspiracy theorist, but your fiancé needs to talk to his family to find out what is actually going on, because this is insane levels of petty for literally nothing. You are correct in every way, and for the love of God, don't give in. But when people tell you who they are, listen to them. Because it seems like there is some aggressive golden child syndrome with your future brother-in-law. Yes, thank you. I see this too. His brother was definitely the golden child and very coddled as the youngest. Your fiancé needs to have a conversation with his mother. This is ridiculous. You've never even met these people. He plans to meet with her and set her straight in a few days. Now for the update. First off, thank you to those of you who gave great advice and were trying to help the situation. Your insight really opened our eyes, mine and my fiancé's. A lot of you hit the nail on the head. Brother-in-law is the golden child and has always been greatly favored over my fiancé by their mother. Brother-in-law is the youngest, and his mother has been coddling him his whole life. My fiancé is the oldest and tends to be the peacemaker and sacrificial one. A lot of you also called out the triangulation manipulation. I told my fiancé this, and he said that his younger brother often roped his mom into their arguments, got her to take his side, and got my fiancé in trouble no matter how ridiculous or wrong his brother was being. He mastered the art of triangulation manipulation from a young age. My fiancé would just take it and apologize to keep the peace. For those of you who said it's ridiculous to have a child we've never met, nor met her mother, as such an important part of our wedding party, thank you. I was feeling like the crazy one for thinking this. Also, info, I was being gracious when I said they have been together 8 months. They've known each other for 8 months and have only been officially dating for 4 months. The wedding is further away than the length of their entire relationship. It's bizarre that they are pushing so hard for this. For those who said we should have granted their request just to keep the peace, my fiancé has been doing this his entire life with his family. That is probably why they resorted to their usual manipulation tactics. He never actually wanted to have this baby in our wedding. He, in fact, thought it was pretty ridiculous of them to ask. He was just ready to cave because he always does to keep family peace, at the expense of himself and his needs or wants every time. The difference is, this time the wedding is about him. It's his day, not his brother's. Well, both of ours. And that's the other thing. He has me this time to stand up for him and what he actually wanted. I also wanted it too, which helps LOL. On to the update. A lot has happened. Today my fiancé went to see his dad and then his mom. They are separated. His dad is neutral, but has been sticking up for me in this whole thing. I have a great relationship with him. He filled us in on a lot. Here is essentially what has been happening. Turns out brother-in-law's girlfriend has more to do with this than we thought, as some of you suggested in the comments. She is the one who has been encouraging him to push for this because it means a lot to him and has been super offended, making a big deal about us saying no. Personally, if it were me, I would never ask someone if my kid could be in their wedding, even if it's family. But forcing it on strangers is wild. My fiancé found out from talking to his dad that my mother-in-law and brother-in-law are spreading a whole bunch of lies. Here is what has all unfolded. Mother-in-law is telling people I'm racist, and that's why I didn't want the baby in the wedding. Apparently, the baby and her mother are Filipino, which I honestly didn't even know because, once again, I've never met them. They live across the country. I don't even know their last name. But still, I don't care what race they are in the slightest. The girlfriend now believes this and doesn't even want to come to the wedding anymore. That's her choice. Also, the wedding party is of diverse ethnicities, so how is it that I'm racist? Brother-in-law is telling people that we are judging the girlfriend and don't want her child in the wedding because she was born out of wedlock, which is ridiculous. 2 of the children who are already in the wedding were born out of wedlock, 1 from each side. They have been talking behind our backs, gossiping, making up lies about me and assuming things about me that are not true. Brother-in-law is twisting and changing my fiancé's words into complete lies to make himself seem like the victim. He is feeding these lies, things my fiancé did not say, not only to his mother but to his sister and his dad. My sister-in-law and father-in-law are both neutral and won't take sides. but think that this whole thing is insane and want it to end. We do too. They both see that they are the ones creating this whole drama and hate me for no reason. So today my fiancé went to see his mother to essentially call her out for her behavior. She was absolutely hysterical and was not ready to listen to reason or logic. She deflected, denied, and lied about things we knew were true. She refused to take accountability or any sort of blame for the situation getting out of hand. She just deferred back to blaming me for everything, making me the villain, and herself and her precious baby son, brother-in-law, the victims. Meanwhile, the last time I spoke to either of them was when we had that conversation with my mother-in-law at her house, where my fiancé slipped and this whole thing started. My fiancé has been handling this whole situation and even trying to shield me from the blame, taking it all on himself. It's not working. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law have made up this entire scenario in their heads and driven themselves and everyone else crazy over it. Meanwhile, all I've done is express my concerns about having a child in the wedding that we don't know, in that initial conversation, when they aren't engaged or married, and the fact that we already filled the roles. She denies favoring my brother-in-law and claims that she is hurt by the accusation, and then, in the same breath, favors him and defends him. I feel the worst for my fiancé because he doesn't even want anything to do with them anymore, and does not feel the need to keep up these relationships. He said that his mother expected him to fall on his face today and apologize for everything because that's what he was forced to do growing up, and that's what they are used to. But now that I'm an extension of him, he is not letting me or us get treated this way. He is angry that they are selfishly trying to use our day to make some grand gesture to his brother's girlfriend, whom he's been dating for only 4 months, and that they refuse to respect our wishes. He is shocked and disappointed that they are lying about us and creating drama around our wedding. He is saying goodbye to this toxic cycle and going no contact until they come to their senses and fix this mess. For those of you who asked, we are in premarital counseling with our pastor, who is also our officiant. He was bewildered that they even requested this in the first place and was shocked and dismayed that they have turned it into such an ordeal. Anyway, this wasn't the update we hoped for, but it's the one we have. Hopefully, one day things will turn around. We are hoping my mother-in-law at least comes to her senses, considering we are the only family that lives near her. Maybe she will learn to support the son and daughter-in-law, who will one day give her grandkids she actually has a shot at seeing regularly, rather than blatantly favoring the son and girlfriend who live across the country. But for the time being, this is it. Security at your wedding is a must. On it. She's pushing brother-in-law to be part of the wedding because she's going to convince him to propose at your wedding. I'm hoping she just won't come to be honest. Tell father-in-law and sister-in-law that by not taking sides, they are in fact taking sides, just not yours. Actually, I would argue if anything they are taking our side, but just not rocking the boat with mother-in-law and brother-in-law. They both said their piece defending us, and when mother-in-law and brother-in-law rebutted with a ridiculous argument, they just changed the subject and avoid the wedding topic altogether. They are doing this to try to stop the family drama rather than fan the flames. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my no-contact sister that part of growing and being a better person is accepting that people don't have to forgive and reconcile with you? Growing up, my sister, now 22 female, was the spoiled golden child of our parents. She got everything she ever wanted in life and became the brat nobody wanted their kids to be friends with. I, now 24 female, even had friends who weren't allowed to come to my house because my sister was there. She would steal, try to make you do what she wanted, and would tell our parents if you didn't. She would break stuff if she wasn't included and wasn't allowed to take over decision-making. It was a whole thing. We fought a lot as kids, and we both said awful things to each other. But I grew to resent her more and more because of the monster our parents created. The final straw for me was my savings. My parents wouldn't let me open a bank account because they didn't want me hiding money. They forced my first job to fire me because they were not okay with me keeping money to myself. I knew they wouldn't help me with college or let me stay rent-free once I turned 18. So I started being sneaky about saving. I babysat for friends' parents under the guise of visiting friends. I did errands for family friends or other people. It didn't allow me much in the way of savings, but it allowed me some. But then like 2 days before my 18th birthday, my sister found and stole the money. Yes, I had it at home, but there was nowhere else to take it. None of my friends' parents were okay with me storing it at their house in case any went missing and I accused them. They were fine helping me earn money, but they didn't want the responsibility of storing it, which I understand. My sister even told our parents I had the money, and they got so mad at me. In return, I told my sister to F off and never speak to me again. And that from that day onward, she wasn't my sister and I didn't love or give a damn about what would happen to her. I left on my birthday and never went back. I was no contact from then until now. My sister reached out to me a few weeks ago because a relative gave her my number. She apologized, told me she was sorry, said she had grown up and realized how crappy she was, and she knew stealing, breaking stuff, getting me into trouble intentionally, and trying to control everything was wrong. She said she loved and missed me, and was hoping we could repair our relationship. I didn't reply. I read the text, and I kept it on my phone but didn't reply. 2 weeks later, she texted the exact same thing with an apology, in case I hadn't gotten the first, but she wanted to be sure. Then a few days ago, she texted again and said she knew it was my number and wanted to know why I ignored her when she had apologized and was hoping I'd forgive her so we could have a relationship. I replied one time, and I considered not doing this, and I told her that part of growing is accepting people don't have to forgive you or reconcile with you just because you apologized, and that sometimes the harm done can't be undone, and doors are closed forever. I didn't reply after that. Then the relative who gave her my number and I exchanged some words because of this, and she told me it was the most arrogant way to tell someone you don't accept their apology. She said I should have been more accepting, and I told her that I didn't need to listen to this. Am I the a-hole for it, though? I'm not doubting myself, but I wonder if there are others who feel the same way as the relative. Honestly, maybe I should have kept ignoring my sister and blocked her number. Not the a-hole. It's great when someone can grow and better themselves, but sometimes apologies just aren't enough. Getting better doesn't erase the past, and sometimes too much damage is done for one party to want to revisit the relationship. An apology is not a magic key that entitles someone to your forgiveness, let alone a spot in your life. Reconciliation is a privilege, not a right. Not the a-hole. If your sister cannot understand your reply, then she still needs more growth. Makes me wonder exactly what she told the relative, because it sounds like another example of her not getting her way, and then tattling to force you to give her what she wants. Same controlling behavior from childhood. If you don't want to hear from your sister again, I'd suggest blocking her and pre-blocking her on socials to shut down all access options. As for that relative who gave out your number without asking you first, they definitely deserve the blocking treatment too.